Just consider it art. There we go. Now my green screen sucks today. I tried to. I got. It's too dark in this hotel room. It's a trick. It's a thing they're trying to do. To just I can't. All the bulbs are weak. I don't know how to deal with it. Anyways, we'll just make do. Look how green the outline. I'm very I'm very Bruce Banner right now. I'm very always angry. So hi, there we go. And I'm gonna turn it, and the microphone sounds okay, and you guys can hear. I guess this
Captain's log.
Okay, do you hear that? Yeah, the issue with the show is just hotel stuff.
Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
It's always an issue. So, but you know the expression "we're here and they're not," which is not an expression, I know, but that's not the important thing.
Piece of malware called QSnatch.
I think that's what I blame my whole system's problems on.
What?
It's true. I do.
Wow.
I know. I like everything I work on.
Wow.
Yeah. I try so hard, and yet everything's
Wow.
like, all right. I know.
Wow.
Exactly. The problem that I have. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Help me travel with a giant crew from this point on. That'd be the only way we can get rid of this kind of drapey piece of artwork. I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna figure out something. It may turn me into a skeleton colored mess because I'll have to raise the contrast so high. But I'll do it. I'm not afraid. I'll do it. Hold on. And then first, let me say hi to the. Whoops, no, that's not what I want. I want the chat. You goof. There we are. And does the page work with the thing? And we'll see. And we'll get this out of the way. And then we go to this one. Yeah, it works. There you go. Yeah, it's still kind of shit. Well, it's shit. What are you going to do? I'll manage. It's okay. I may just... Hold on. I'm definitely not going to, remove the... hold on. I just take this down. I'm going to raise myself up a little bit because if I'm not that transparent, at the very least, I can be more present. Don't mind the haziness. I apologize. All right. So, do I want to mess around with it? Do I even want to mess around with it? What do you think, chat room? Hi. Can I resize the chat? I can. Hold on to make it a little. The issue is on this one. Let's see. Let's go to the command and the minus and the minus and the minus and the minus. Yeah, if that's it doesn't really help. Not a lot. Hi guys, 1 second. Because of the nature of the thing, let me slide this over a bit. Maybe you can see the names a bit. It's because I only have one screen for my stuff on here. I mean I could. Well, this is a terrible idea. But it'll work out. I could create a chat overlay for this, but that would be a nightmare. La da 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 da. Hi. I'm also very aware that I'm going to be, talking around. Let's see, this thing. Nope. I want to take this. I've got, neighbors on the other walls and the like. Let's see. I'm going to check one thing real quick. This might be a terrible way to go, but give me 1 second. Nope, that's terrible. That one. Hi, how are you? You're fine. I'll go back to this one. Use the preset. Use the okay. Use this thing. Use buffering. Okay, fine. No. Enable audio support. No. Okay. Done. Now the other thing I try is command to click. No, quit it. Stop that. There we go. I'm checking my filters to see if I can green myself a little bit more. I have 2 chroma keys on here. Does that help? That makes it worse. Can't tell. Hold on. I'm trying to, it's always a nightmare when I bring this up. Whoops, there we go. I disappeared. Why would it think my hair is green? That makes no sense to me at all. Okay. The smoothness, that'll do, I think. Key color reduction's not the thing. We'll raise the contrast a touch. That usually helps with the cutout a little bit. Okay. I'm not doing any more than that. That's all I have to do. All right. I'm just gonna roll with it. It's fine. Just like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Help me out. Okay. All right. Then I can afford a bigger fold-up green screen. All right. Anyways, here we go. Green highlights. It is nice. Put my hair in a ponytail. Is that what it'll help me cut out better? You're probably right. You asked for it. I'm just telling you. I had it that way earlier, and it certainly does help because it doesn't make my hair have to cut out every strand. Every strand is sacred. All right. It's not how that song works, but I like it. I don't care. It's all right. Okay. Maybe that is a little better. That helps. You still see that part, but let's go. We got a show to do. Come on. Can't focus on this too much. All right. Lots to talk about. Apparently, ladies and gentlemen, buckle in. Apparently, there's a big story behind Bongholio. Bongholio breaks down why 2024 is Trump's time instead of Governor DeSantis and tells the true story of what happened behind the scenes of the day, if we even decide to go with that. The Five reacts to the heated testimony of the FBI whistleblowers, many of whom were like poached for units to work with the FBI and technically became FBI without going through the process of being FBI agents. We're going to jump probably right in at the top on, we'll see. We'll see if the mess deserves it. Of course, apparently, this guy, I don't know if you guys know this. This is crazy. So, this guy, I think he's from Minnesota. He's got a mustache and a picture of Jesus and a lion. And his business is in linens, as many in the mafia world sometimes, occasionally are engaged. If you ask me, don't ask me. And this guy apparently, I don't know if you know this, thinks that there was something wrong with the election time before last. And he apparently, at this point, he doesn't even know, if no one is going to check signatures, why do we have elections? It's a quandary. I don't know why. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking they do check signatures. Yeah, but that doesn't. He's not basing his question on reality. He's basing his question on it's got to be hypothetical. It has to be. I don't know. He's adorable. I've never seen him before. He seems to be just a sweet feller. Apparently, the dude on your right, the skinny guy, is the crusty old guy is having the skinny guy wearing the lip gloss sell his book on masculinity called Manhood, which I gotta say, when you separate man and hood like that, it either sounds like an urban crime novel, Tyler Perry's first novel, that kind of thing. Or it sounds like you've written a book on the history of the foreskin. So yeah, circumcision, a do-it-yourself guide. Absolutely, do not do it yourself. I'm just saying. It's like some people have tried, and I think it's a mistake.
Wow.
It's true. I've heard that.
Called the stroker.
Well, that's not if you do it that way. You don't. All right. I'm gonna get in trouble. Doobity-doobity-doo.
They were so hung-go.
That's right. They were definitely hung-go, which is why they needed to affect their manhood. And then the old crusty guy had I guess Don Jr.'s kid on to hawk the book in the middle of three, count them, four, maybe five major legal battles that Trump is in. The best use of the eldest namesake son is to go sell a book full of letters that are. It should have been like the title of Letters to Trump should have been "People Used to Like Me Until They Found Out Who I Was." I used to be able to sucker anybody. And then this is a documentary I was watching earlier. That's not okay. So, anyways, chat room, you're in for it. I'm just saying, Clanhood. That's funny. That's if Gosar wrote it, I would guess. All right, let me make sure I can hear. Let's hop into Bongholio. Is this the right one? Hold on one second. This is gonna bother me. Give me 1 second. Anyways, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, blah 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 blah. And and then I've got to open up my Discord. Is very noisy when I open it because it makes a lot of noises. I'm just trying to find one thing. Talk amongst yourselves.
Turning now to the House Select Subcommittee.
Don't open it.
The
Don't play it.
weaponization of-
Stop it. Don't. Oh my God. This is horrifying. Okay. So I want to, I wish I could find a, like a full document on all the legal troubles that, here's one of them. Yeah. So, let's.
Welcome to Rob Schmidt tonight. Today, House.
Holy Schmidt. Yeah, let's go to this. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, this is Rob Schmidt. Oh, boy. And Holy Schmidt is he's having on one of the FBI whistleblowers, and Rob is not afraid to help this guy blow his own whistle, and it's about time. And politicized and weaponized for your pleasure. So if you don't know, there was a hearing. Jim Jordan had this like gripe fest posing as a hearing where he basically snagged the mic every time he didn't like the questions asked of his witnesses and did nonstop redirect. And it didn't convince a lot of people. Now, there are three of the dudes. We'll go through them. I have no doubt. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to one more time before I go to this page because I'm going to pull a page sideways and do some so I can build some stuff up and I can make this thing. And HAL, why would you?
I like wood.
That's why. I mean, honestly. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gathering some info. This is CNN. Washington political embrace. Hold on. This is I'm trying to the FBI retaliated did with target pro. Okay, school board senator Jim Jordan sends. Well, that's okay. This will be close enough. You'll see. Okay, now let's get started. This is Rob Shit being relatively shitty. I'm gonna pause that. And there were three of these guys, and they were brought on as witnesses. Their testimony and their evidence was not provided to Democrats before the get-together, before the thing today at all, or yesterday or whenever it was. And that was one of the complaints the Democrats had, was that Jordan and these guys, they basically tried to blindside Democrats with their testimony, which in effect, you could go, well, I mean, if it's true, just because you're late to the game doesn't mean it isn't a crime, just because you just heard about it. But the problem is that there are a lot of holes in their BS, and Democrats would have an easier time dismantling it if they were aware of what the person was saying ahead of time. You know, that's the other thing, is that by the time you realize it's a lie, the lie is already snuck past because, you know, through this entire thing, they were using the witness's former service as cover. There was a lot of back and forth about that. Stacey Plaskett, who I got to say, I'm a fan. I enjoy her work. She's, I mean, I'm glad she's in the House. I'm glad she's the representative from the Virgin Islands. But I think she'd be the perfect mayor of Zero Fucks Town, personally. Yeah, you cannot fact check somebody if you're broadsided by their lies. That's what the goal is. So by the time you come back and go, hey, can we bring those guys back in? I would like to ask them about the bullshit they were talking about. Because most of their stuff is opinion, too. We'll jump into it. We're going to jump around a little bit because these clips are relatively long, and you'll see what I mean.
Republicans again exposed a broken FBI, revealing an agency motivated only by its own self-interests.
Yes, it's only its own self-interest. Its deep desire to investigate federal crime.
Ignoring real domestic atrocities to heavily pursue, to an exaggerated extent, more politically useful things like January 6th, which...
Well, you know, you do realize there's only one reason why January 6th is useful to anybody politically, is because it was awful, it was a crime, and Trump made it happen, and so it's kind of like you know, Trump could have solved that by not having a January 6th and just running on the same gripe. Honest to God, he would be so much further ahead in trying. He still would lose, but it's a lose-lose. But he would have cemented himself as a much broader, you know, Republican mythologist if he hadn't done the whole Jan 6 thing. He lost a lot of friends. A lot of allies. He has no friends.
The government is clearly overhyping to push more surveillance and censorship on the American people.
No. Who the fuck is... Where's the new Patriot Act against patriots? Hashtag patriots. Patriots in air quotes. There isn't one. Shut the fuck up.
They surveilled Americans without they looked at their phone records and they looked at what they were saying and they didn't even have a warrant.
Asshole, they were all attacking the Capitol. If you could avoid that warrant by not being in a giant mob attacking the Capitol. They don't have to get a warrant to search the area when they've got over 3,000 criminals engaged in violence against police officers and members of the public and their fellow Americans.
Today's whistleblowers are some of the bravest patriots in the Bureau,
They're first of all, they're not in the Bureau anymore, and no.
To speak up against a powerful intel agency that would crush them.
FBI is not an intel agency. They gather intelligence sometimes, but they are a prosecutorial. They investigate. It's in the name. Does this motherfucker think they're the Federal Bureau of Intelligence? I bet he does. I mean, honestly, that just occurred to me. He might.
For speaking out. And these four men
Thank you, Jackie.
have most certainly been crushed.
Oh, were they thicker the last time we saw them? They have most certainly been crushed. This dude is their key witness. This is the guy who they moved him to be part of this team, and then in between him getting this assignment moving in, they discovered that he had been copying classified materials and trying to sneak them out on flash drives. He had refused direct orders, was not followed, everything that could possibly get you suspended, except, you know, being a hard-boiled, out-of-control rogue cop in an 80s movie, that asshole did. Everything except that.
FBI agent Garrett O'Boyle blew the whistle, alleging the Bureau is padding the stats to make domestic extremism look dramatically worse than it really is.
First of all, we haven't had a major on American soil. We haven't had a major terrorist attack since what, Fort Hood? And before that, I mean, 9/11 is enormous. We've had multiple white supremacist shooters. We've had Black Hebrew Israelites shooting Jews in, I think it was in Brooklyn, right? That is a domestic terror organization. There are a lot more of those things by volume and by infusion in the community. Your chances of experiencing that kind of domestic terror are way fucking higher than being under the next plane that gets hijacked by somebody who never took a landing class.
After he spoke out, the FBI packed up his entire house and moved O'Boyle and his family to a new city.
Did they put him in the witness relocation program, or was he just kidnapped? Or did they, even though he was engaged in, in violating his oath and in subversion, they still tried to keep him on the tit and hide it a little, so they just broomed him to another market
for a new job with the Bureau.
Yes, that's what they crushed by a new job.
And then as soon as they arrived, this is what happened.
Then, on my first day on the new assignment, they suspended me.
Did they suspend you just because they'd given you, like, what'd you do? What happened? And how much time passed between when he got his new assignment and what they found out about what he was doing? Because it was, I want to say he says it was like 3 months. Okay, hold on one second. Because this has always been confusing. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. FBI's, yeah, so this is all their take on it and all his take. I have not been able, there is no take on what happened to him other than his point of view. Like, it is all coming from, like, the entire story is either coming from him or... I don't think the FBI can answer, so he's taking advantage of that fact. But he's okay. Anyways, let's see.
Rendering my family homeless.
Rendering my family homeless. So the FBI rendered his family homeless, not his actions that violated his oath. And again, one of the Democrats brought up Reality Winner and Chelsea Manning and everybody else, and they served. The country honorably until they didn't. Are we supposed to just look past it? Right.
They refused to release our goods, including our clothes, for weeks. All I wanted to do was serve my country.
Also, what do you mean they? Where was your shit? Again, this is really confusing because I just have to call bullshit on it. It's just weird. There's no they refused to release our goods. Who did? The moving company? Did you not pay them? What are you talking about?
By stopping bad guys and protecting the innocent. To my chagrin, bad guys...
Chagrin. That's the emotion I would feel if my family was suddenly homeless.
...begun running parts of the government, making it difficult to continue to serve this nation and protect...
Whoa, wait, what?
To do was serve my country, by stopping bad guys and protecting the innocent. To my chagrin, bad guys have begun running parts of the government, making it difficult to continue to serve this nation and protect.
Bad guys have started to run the government. Okay, so those bad guys, some of them apparently would be his superiors that he didn't, go around or wasn't asked to do anything that violated his oath as an FBI agent.
Innocent. But I, for one, will never stop trying.
To what? Steal classified information?
I'll never forget my oath. Thank you.
Well, you can remember it and still break it, dummy. You can remember. I mean, that's if you break it on purpose, you have to remember it. I'm shocked. Everyone, okay, and a collective release of the pearls. Okay.
Imagine that happening to you.
Okay, let's see. What kind of soundtrack should it have? Probably something with cellos, I'm guessing.
This is why the founding fathers of this country were so worried about government. They had so
They were worried about monarchy.
much resentment towards their previous government.
It wasn't a government. It was a monarchy. There was so much resentment. They had just been in a revolutionary war, Rob.
Government is very scary.
Well, that settles it. All right. I guess we could all just... So, do we start shitting ourselves the minute we wake up? And do we even bother to stop at bedtime? Or we just, I would say, just shit ourselves the whole time, right?
It's a monopoly of power over us all.
No, it isn't. Asshole, your side voted in your guy. We have one government, but it has 3 branches. What the fuck are you talking about?
They can destroy you. You have no recourse.
That guy was testifying before Congress. No recourse. He's being paid by the former president's people. They got shit tons of recourse. And you have due process. He could file a wrongful termination suit. Why hasn't he? That would be a good question too. This would be my question. If you believe you were wrongfully terminated, why have you not filed a wrongful termination case? And seek damages. Why not? You definitely have congressional Republicans on your side. You're well known enough. It's not like you can pull some bullshit like I'm going to end up in an oil drum. It's not going to happen. Why? Because the only reason I can think of is that in the course of the trial, it would come out that you were doing exactly what they fired you for.
And with these moves, the FBI sent a message to all whistleblowers. Keep your mouth shut.
No, they didn't. They didn't actually say that to these folks at all. And even if they did, let's say that's the message, Rob. The FBI sent a message. Keep your mouth shut. They didn't. Here they are. But you can't be an employee and not follow orders of the FBI. It's kind of important. Unit cohesion and all that.
Or we will eviscerate you.
Eviscerate you? Why don't they just vivisect them? I thought I have to say I thought it was a little heavy-handed when Democratic members of the committee vivisected these guys and removed sections of their internal organs in front of everyone. But they got to be William Wallace, and that's their dream.
O'Boyle's allegation is the FBI is following the same basic playbook as the White House right now. Manufacture a crisis of domestic extremism to create the need and the political will for more control over the people.
Yeah. Again, the fuck are you talking about? Everything that's going on right now is either in the last 2 years especially, have been about the infrastructure bill, the rescue package, the economy, the fight right now is about the debt ceiling, the support of the Ukraine war. Has anybody seen the White House going, look, or the FBI or anybody else saying, I think the lesson from January 6th is that we need more warrantless wiretapping of American citizens. We need a Patriot Act, part 2.0. Of course not.
More power.
I thought aren't they a monolithic? Don't they have absolute power? How do you have more than absolute?
You have a case open on a gang, and you have a sub-file for each person in it. Like,
you have this is a little hard to hear, but he says you have a case open on a gang, and you have sub-files for every person in it.
John Doe 1, 2, and 3, they would all have their own sub-file. Or in my case, John Doe 1, 2, 3, and 4 all had their own separate case, because then the FBI can, from my perspective, the FBI can come back to Congress and say, look at all the domestic terrorism we've investigated.
Oh my God, you fucking moron. They're lone wolves. Okay, if it was a white supremacist gang and members of the gang were being treated as their own groups or their own, lead points on this, and they were carrying out like in fucking Cobra, they're like a specific mission on each one, but they were all part of this big bunch of people who bang axes together and go, come bleed with me, pig. You'd have a point. That would be the first part of the analogy. The second part, where he's like, they're looking at these people as individuals. The Buffalo shooter was an individual. All of these, like, white supremacist shooters that we've had might be talking in some of the same threads online, might be finding some like-minded individuals or what have you, but they're not acting in concert. They're not part of a gang. They are separate cases. They don't have a support structure. And if they do, the real scandal here that this idiot cannot even grasp, for fuck's sake, is that the only thing the FBI would be doing wrong in this situation is if this guy was asserting, not that they're padding the numbers by trying these people individually, but if there was, unbeknownst to the FBI because they don't bother to look or they haven't discovered it or nobody can talk about it or some bullshit, that there was a coordinated group, that there was a white supremacist like ISIS group that was coordinating these attacks. That would be a scandal. That would be true. That would be a true whistleblower moment of what this guy is saying. All this asshole just said is, when we dealt with a gang, we dealt with the gang's members as members of the gang. And when we deal with lone wolf racists, we deal with lone wolf racists. And his problem is that if MS-13 has 13 members in this, in some area, and there are 13 mass shooters in a 10-month period that individually choose by their own self-radicalization, or they've just finally finished the Turner Diaries and off they go, that it's a wash. That we should the one difference between these two groups of murderers and potential murderers, or the other way around. All the white supremacist single shooters are all murderers. These guys in this gang are potential murderers, even though some of them run drugs or whatever the fuck else. I'm sure the gang has other ancillary activities. That to him, because one is organized and the other is not, the organized one is the bigger threat, even if it takes fewer lives and kills fewer innocent people, and is not, again, broadly enacted on bigotry, on assumptions about human beings, whereas I think MS-13 tends to only kill people that they think are, snitches, or that they specifically choose to victimize because of a relationship to them or another gang member, or opponents or anything, as opposed to some dude who just says any Mexican will do. I can kill any Mexican and I'm over quota.
Isn't that something?
Yes, it's something stupid. It's something amazingly weak. And look at the fucking pictures on this, by the way. Politicize and weaponize this dude in like the shadow. And then down here it says, it's all about controlling you. What a wuss.
If you wonder why the White House can't stop talking about race, hate, extremism all the time, this is
Yeah, they don't. I don't know if you've noticed this.
why. It's indoctrination. Our country is dealing with far too many real problems.
Yeah, racism is not a real problem in Rob Schmidt's life. Look, Jews, shut up. Look, we know occasionally, you know, some dudes who on occasion send Nick Cannon literature want to light up a synagogue. We know that there's some white supremacists who think, you know, that there needs to be another great day of the rope or whatever. There's these random guys. If a racist, more than likely, statistically, if Rob Schmidt is anywhere near a racist opening fire on a group of people, they're not going to aim at him, is what he's saying. So calm the fuck down.
Middle class, rotting culture, drugs.
Rotting culture. Excuse me? Nerd Halen is performing tomorrow night at Glass Cactus here in Dallas.
Skyrocketing depression and
skyrocketing depression. I can't imagine why we would have skyrocketing depression. Dear God, it's all about controlling me. Why? Maybe, I don't know, maybe the doom sprayers are panicking the fuck out of them. I don't know where this depression could come from.
anxiety. But those get no attention because
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody talks about depression and anxiety in our public life at all. We don't talk about crime. We don't talk about anything. All it is racism. That's all we talk about, racism. I was, you know, it's funny because it's like the other day I took my car to the car wash, and it was very hard for them to tell, you know, whether I wanted the Supreme or the special wax wash combo because of the amount of times I had to insist that every part of the car washing process is racist. But I had to do it, you know, because we're all trying to meet our racism quota.
solving real issues doesn't benefit the government.
Again, infrastructure bill. The fuck?
And their selfish needs. It won't
Their selfish needs.
help government grow any larger to fix those problems. It won't give government any more control. In fact, fixing most of the real issues.
So you're saying in some cases, the government needs to get bigger to solve some problems. All right, accidental progress, I'll take
that
it.
we have will give government far less control. A healthier society needs a whole lot less government.
Well, then I would start working on yourself, obviously, because clearly the FBI has become concerned and ratcheted up some level of control that you find personally offensive. Maybe it's because the culture you're wallowing right now is shit.
So instead, they poison us.
Wait a minute, now we're being poisoned? How? Is it in the water? We're not talking about fluoride, are we? Are they shooting us with darts?
All we hear is this nonsense constantly.
I obviously am very concerned about the rise of extremism and extremism related to white supremacy.
The FBI.
It's important to put both in there, you know. There is extremism that's not related to white supremacy. It's that you just showed him bifurcating those two thoughts and running them in parallel.
Has warned repeatedly that domestic terrorism fueled by white supremacy is the #1 threat to the United States, right?
It is, absolutely. And the number, I think, 2 threat or 3, depending, they jockey back and forth, is black supremacist organizations. And the FBI has the same focus on when that happens too. They just don't want groups of people gathering together, killing people because of their skin color. It's just bad form.
White supremacy is the biggest bucket of
It is technically, yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, there are close second and thirds, but it's a big one. And by the way, if you don't believe me, look at the kill ratio of the white supremacists, the Aryan Nation, and the Peckerwoods in prison. There's something like, I want to say like 2 to 7% of the prison population, and they are 80% of the prison contract kills. I'm just saying, you know, structurally they're more concerning.
When it comes to domestic terrorism.
Yeah, when it comes to domestic terrorism. Again, now watch, Rob Schmidt will make it look like they're the biggest threat in the world instead of the biggest threat in terms of domestic terrorism. They're our biggest, and they always say shit like, forget China, forget Russia, forget Al-Qaeda. Apparently they think white supremacists are the worst of the world. Like, dude, in the United States, that's our main one. I mean,
terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today.
Yes, the most lethal threat in the homeland today.
It's a broken record. That's all you hear.
Well, you created a montage, dumb fuck. If it was a broken record, you would play that person, one person, saying the same thing over and over again, probably in the same second, just going, it's white supremacy. It's white supremacy. It's white supremacy. It's white supremacy.
Force the peasants into believing we have...
Peasants. Wait, watch. They just changed the chyron again. Force the peasants into believing what? They're manufacturing problems. Yes, they are, peasants. I'm sorry, they're doing what to us?
A dangerous problem, so they'll willfully vote for less freedom to solve it.
He means guns. As if, by the way, that's the solution to that particular problem.
This is why our freedom of speech is disappearing, and
it's not. Our freedom of speech is not disappearing.
Washington couldn't be any happier about it. All this race, hate.
You mean all of Washington, including Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and that whole crowd that you have on all the time? I mean, I know they're the only ones you talk to, so why are they happy about it? That's my concern.
Extremist talk is designed by political goons who couldn't care less about the marginalized.
Hate Incorporated. Look, Rob's renaming his show. By the way, I take a lot of these issues seriously, but I don't take assholes like this seriously, and neither should you.
People that they pretend to protect. They say never let a good crisis go to waste. In this case, if you don't have a crisis, government will create one.
Yes, you imagine January 6th. You imagine Charlottesville. You imagine the Buffalo shooter. You imagine Dylan Roof. You imagined all these lone wolf white supremacists shooting at groups of people because they're a different color or they're Jewish or what have you. You imagine that. Look, this is how they manufacture consent. Rob Schmidt is the new Chomsky, but without all the hanging out with Epstein stuff, unless we find out later.
Senior fellow for the Center for American Greatness, Edward Ring's op-ed this week called the hate in...
Center for American Greatness. I'm sticking with Magoo.
History said it best. If these institutions weren't able to point to rising levels of hatred in America, then their specialty, the business of hate, would no longer be a growth industry.
I think if I'm not mistaken, he's talking about groups like the ADL and the NAACP and the like.
Where there is no hate, they must manufacture it.
Yeah, Rob Schmidt doesn't sound hateful or disdainful or dickish at all.
Where hatred has diminished, they must discover new forms of hate, often so subtle that we foolishly fail to recognize it without their assistance.
By the way, socially, there's been a big thing about microaggressions, and it kind of came and went culturally, honest to God. It was a big thing on college campuses, but it's kind of, it petered out. It didn't have enough legs to sustain it, but these guys are still grinding their teeth over it.
There is a tremendous amount of power in dividing this country over race, gender, sex, etc.
Yeah, how do you think Fox stays on the air?
Edward Ring continues, all this warped coverage generates lucrative hate. White liberals and blacks are encouraged to hate white racists.
I honestly, I don't need any encouragement to hate white racists. Far from me to tell this dude, I mean, who's the writer, you know, but hate whites they perceive as racist or are told that are racists. Because if they're actually racists, fuck them. But that hating that characteristic in them, their personality trait that makes them that way, I don't need to be encouraged to do that. Their behavior encourages me to do that. What?
White conservatives hate the lying media and resent the double standard.
Oh, okay, so they don't mind, like, my show. So wait a minute. White conservatives hate your show, Rob? No wonder you're upset.
And as hate grows, money is made and authoritarian bureaucracies expand.
But enough about the Russell Brand governmental approach.
Your government is winning with this.
What? So much winning. What do we...
What?
We the people are losing.
It's very dramatic. It's a very dramatic moment for Rob. Everybody. It's a lot, okay? He's going through a thing. We have to be gentle. He does not respond. He does not respond well to criticism, and it hurts. Okay? It stings.
It is a sobering reality when you realize how our government really looks at our society.
Like they need to maintain it even when it does stuff they don't like, which it's always done, and it's constitutionally required to do.
Deviously scheming how to attain more power by any means necessary.
Well, if they can, no, because if any means necessary, you don't even have to fucking try. You just drone strike everybody into behaving. What are you talking about? Where are all the FEMA camps? If it's any means necessary, holy shit. Why wouldn't you bring in the UN shock troops? Why isn't the water full of fluoride making us all dough-headed? Any means, listen to yourself. Any means necessary. You act like Joe Biden's threatening to nuke Iowa if he doesn't win the primary. Shut the fuck up.
Hurting us if they have to.
What, hurting us or hurting us? Hold on. Wait. Hurting or hurting? Wait.
Any means necessary by hurting us if they have to.
Well, I mean, obviously, any means necessary is going to involve at least a light spanking. I mean, some mild corporal punishment. I mean, you could expect it. I mean, I don't think, they go straight to full-on Abu Ghraib, dummy. Yeah. But hey, bud, go take a visit to Somalia. Exactly. Think if you will for a second, because this is kind of amazing. This is like a study in idiocy. Imagine being this fucking dude. Well, let me move my thing. Imagine being this guy today, and you gathered with people in your office, and you all worked on this graphics package and the monologue, maybe writing it out, maybe freeballing parts of it. I don't know what his methodology is. And coming to some sort of conclusion that this is something that needs to be said. And what you barfed out of your empty skull was what we've been watching for the last 10 minutes. I mean, honest to God, this is just ass. I mean, and it's his career. Is this the result of what happens when you're wrong so often that you just get kind of like bitter about it? I wouldn't know. I'm trying to see the.
Thankfully, some are pushing back, like whistleblower Steve Friend, a former FBI agent. Here he was today. I thought he was going to be on the show. I thought this was going to be an interview.
Working as an FBI special agent was my dream job. My whistleblowing was apolitical and in the spirit of upholding my oath. Nonetheless, the FBI cynically elected to close ranks and attack the messenger. The FBI is incentivized to work against the American people and in dire need of drastic reform.
Well, that's it. I mean, how many employees in the FBI? If they don't have a 100% non-disgruntled employee standard, I think the whole thing's got to be shut down. I don't care how many child molesters they bust or serial killers they stop. This guy seems a little miffed because they are not prioritizing what he thought they should be prioritizing at his level. Yeah.
In dire need of drastic reform. And he said,
Ugh. Were words ever so cutting? They slice me to the core, Rob Schmidt. They make mincemeat of my minced parts. They julienne my fries. How much pain can one man take?
Attack the messenger is what the FBI did. Well, that's what California Congresswoman Linda Sanchez did today.
And in a lime jacket.
To cast FBI whistleblower Marcus Allen as a dangerous right-wing extremist who supported the Capitol riots, she claimed. Now, Linda here was all excited for her viral moment. She even spent $7 to get her hair colored. And then she realized...
Easy there, dude. Easy. Is he just dunking on her because he spends more than that on his?
She had the wrong Twitter handle, and it made for quite a moment. Take a look.
Is your account at Marcus A970-50645?
That is absolutely not my account.
Okay, that's not your account. Well, on December 5th, 2022, an account under the name Marcus Allen retweeted a tweet that said,
That
quote,
is not my account, ma'am.
You haven't let me finish the question,
Might
sir.
have been the football player.
You haven't let me finish the question. And the time is mine. On December 5th, 2022, an account under the name of Marcus Allen retweeted a tweet that said, quote, Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th, retweet if you agree, end quote. Do you agree with that statement? Yes or no?
That is, I don't, no ma'am. That's not my account at all.
Yeah. So you're not going through why they actually got booted?
Do you think she possesses the mental capacity to feel embarrassment?
If she did, I don't know that you'd be able to spot it. It would be alien to you.
I'm betting she doesn't. People like this belong nowhere near power.
People like this belong nowhere near power. I mean, it is English, technically, but it's just in the wrong... I'm going with freeballing it. I don't think he writes stuff down.
What an indictment of our country that somebody like this represents a congressional district in southern...
So I guess you're not going to be playing any Gosar clips.
California, right outside Los Angeles.
Yeah, where we have a lot of people.
Democrats on this committee were enraged today when one whistleblower's prior testimony was withheld from them. They could not access the information. They didn't have a manuscript of that prior testimony. Something that was done at whistleblower Stephen Friend's request after Democrats slandered his name with false information to the media back in March. Establishment Washington.
Look, you've got space for a graphic. Put that up. Let me see it. What are you talking about?
Of course, attempting to get ahead of what would be jaw-dropping testimony we saw today by destroying the credibility early. The media ran with that.
Or pointing that they don't have any
story a couple months ago. And then, as we're so often accustomed to these days, realized later that it was fake news and had to publish embarrassing retractions after they found out that Steve Friend is actually legit. The Post.
Washington Post, Rolling Stone issue corrections about FBI Jan 6 whistleblower Stephen Friend. All right, let's see what they did. I'm sure this totally vindicates him and isn't just a, let's see, just the news, Durst. Corrections, Stephen Friend. Let's see. Washington Post, Rolling Stone issue corrections. Here's the whole thing. Here it is. Washington Post, Rolling Stone issue corrections about January 6th whistleblower Stephen Friend. The article now states that as an FBI case agent in Florida, Friend objected to the use of a SWAT team to arrest 5 people. The Washington Post, hold on, let me try to blow this up. It's so cattywampus. The Washington Post and Rolling Stone issued corrections on stories the House Republican-led Weaponization Government Subcommittee after making claims about FBI whistleblower and former agent Stephen Friend. The Post correction, which was added to the top of an article published Friday, titled Democrats Challenge Credibility of GOP Witness Who Embrace It, stated, an earlier version of this article erroneously said former FBI agent, hold still, said former FBI official, Stephen Friend had not reported to a supervisor one of his concerns related to the use of a SWAT team in arrests related January 6, 2021. He said he did tell the supervisor, but he did not mention it in a written declaration, according to the report from Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee. Okay, so he was supposed to write it down. They said he didn't mention it because he didn't put it in written form because he's supposed to, and he's like he mentioned it. The whole thing falls apart then. I clearly, I don't know, shut it all down. I think the FBI has to be dismantled. I've changed my mind. That's it. The article now states that as an FBI case agent in Florida, Friend objected to the use of a SWAT team to arrest 5 people suspected of being members of a militia type group over their alleged involvement in the January 6 riot. His friend had spoken with his supervisor about his concerns. The original story had incorrectly said Friend told the subcommittee in his testimony that he objected because the men had indicated they would cooperate with the FBI, but he didn't mention that to his supervisor at the time. Rolling Stone's correction, which was placed at the end of the article, said inside Jim Jordan's disastrous search for a deep state whistleblower. This story has been corrected to reflect that Stephen Friend's security clearance was suspended. Huh? What? I don't know. How does this help your case? Do any of these people read this stuff? Rolling Stone's correction, which was placed at the end of the article inside Jim Jordan's disastrous search for a deep state whistleblower. This story has been corrected to reflect that Stephen Friend's security clearance was suspended. Jason Foster, founder of the nonprofit group Empower Oversight, called the stories a hit job and said it caused a lot of confusion about the facts, precisely what it was designed to do. I gotta say, the correction comes after Friend told Just the News in September that he was suspended after raising concerns about the use of SWAT teams, the treatment of Jan 6 suspects, and the alleged manipulation of crime data. He told Just the News that he resigned in February, but he was not paid for 150 days straight, and his security clearance was placed under review following his whistleblower disclosures. In another recent notable correction from the Washington Post, the paper said inaccurately characterized comments by Tom Cotton regarding the origins of the coronavirus. What? And that's the end of it. That's the tail end of the thing. The correction. And by the way, apparently Just the News wants credit for this whole thing. Also, let's see. The original. Let's see. I'm going to open this guy up, and then we'll. Whoops. Oh, this goes to a Twitter thread. Also, it's a correction much professional. Early versions article erroneously said former FBI official Stephen Friend had not reported to a supervisor one of his concerns related to the use of the SWAT team arrest in January 6, related to the January 6 riots. He said he did tell the supervisor, but he did not mention it in a written declaration. According to a report from Democrats on the House committee, this article has been corrected. Dude, I told him. I fucking told him. I didn't write it down, but I fucking told him. I don't like doing paperwork. It's the shittiest part of the FBI, bro. FBI responds to suspension of whistleblower, says it follows objective administrative process. This is the tail end of this thing. That's the guy, by the way, in the middle. The FBI responded Monday night to the suspension of an agent who blew the whistle on alleged mistreatment of Jan 6 suspects, saying the Bureau follows, quote, an objective administrative process and is committed to protecting whistleblowers who make protected disclosures. The Bureau provided a statement to the Just the News after the news organization inquired about the allegations friend made in a complaint to the Office of Special Counsel alleging he was suspended after raising concerns about the treatment of Jan 6 suspects, the use of SWAT teams, and alleged manipulation of crime statistics. And this goes to the, like, he's in with these other dudes who think that, again, if you're investigating a gang and everybody in the gang is under one file, but if you're talking about these individuals, they should all be under everybody who kills somebody and is racist at the time should just fall under one case. It's moronic. While we cannot comment on the specifics of personnel matters, which is why they get to fill the gaps with bullshit, conspiracy theorists love that shit, that's why the CIA is always a great target, because they can't respond. All FBI employees understand they are held to the highest standards because their work is critical to fulfilling our mission to protect the American people. Employees who don't carry out their responsibilities are held accountable through the objective administrative process. FBI employees who report evidence of wrongdoing through a protected disclosure are protected from retaliation. Such reporting supports the FBI's mission and is fully consistent with the core values. In his whistleblower complaint, Friend acknowledged he had told a supervisor he was going to refuse to participate in any J6 cases because of concerns about violations of some defendants' constitutional rights. Because of concerns, not evidence. Because of concerns. He was concerned. I expressed my concerns about violating citizens' Sixth Amendment rights due to overzealous charging by the DOJ and biased jury pools in D.C. This dude just watches a bunch of fucking YouTube. No offense, YouTube. Or people on it like me. Alleged he believed the Bureau and the Justice Department are violating the constitutional rights of Jan 6 events. Yeah, not up to you, dummy. I believe the investigations were inconsistent with the FBI procedure and resulted in the violation of citizens' Sixth and Eighth Amendment rights. Friend wrote, I added that many of my colleagues expressed similar concerns to me but had not vocalized their objections to FBI executive management. Well, the FBI management is not responsible for anything people say that they feel but don't verbalize. They are not psychics. If they were, I would be more concerned. You are a big dum-dum.
Rolling Stone had to retract the story.
No, they didn't. Listen to this shit. And this is why we call him Rob Shit. Rolling Stone had to retract the story.
Is actually legit. The Post, Rolling Stone, had to retract the story.
No, they didn't. One of them made a mild variation in that they had initially reported he hadn't told his superiors, and later on they had to take his word for it that he had verbally said it. So they corrected the story to take his word for it. Oh my God, this is lame. And then and he's pretending, by the way, while never moving his Hate Incorporated graphic, that that both stories are completely fraudulent. Another example: the mainstream media, the legacy media, controlling us. There is power to be gained by dividing us into people who bother to read and people who don't.
Just like with Russiagate.
No, they didn't retract that shit either. None of this has been retracted. What are you talking about?
The media, once again, duped.
You are the media, stupid.
By the Democrat Party that they so blindly and loyally.
Duped? I guess that's progress. At least he thinks they're being suckered now, not that they're willing and, participants in a Marxist takeover of blah, 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 blah.
Protect. All right, FBI whistleblower Steve Friend spoke at today's hearing, and he joins us now. And
live from the Center for Renewing America, where he's now a fellow. Hello, fellow.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you blew the whistle on the FBI over its handling of the January 6th Capitol riots, saying...
No, he didn't. He personally believed, after listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, that they were being mistreated because he was on their side.
The Bureau was sending SWAT teams to the homes of compliant suspects in a way to make J6 look even more extreme.
Or because they were picking up people who had bragged on Facebook about having a shit ton of guns and wanting another run at it.
Another whistleblower alleges the FBI is padding
Yeah, he's not there, so.
stats to create the appearance of a country with...
I'm sorry, Rob, you're going to have to retract that because this is also one of that guy's allegations as well. He's fallen asleep. You missed it.
Major domestic extremism problem. Why do you believe that the FBI is doing all this?
I think it all comes down to its integrated program management protocols, which are in place and have been in place for about a decade. And
Obama. Ever since that black guy ran the joint.
the best way to explain it is a traffic cop trying to hit a quota. The FBI sets quotas for itself to meet, and in order to meet those, they have to gin up the numbers in any way possible to just...
Yeah, and we have not seen, and I mean not seen, any, people shooting up grocery stores for white supremacist reasons, releasing manifestos, and especially not in numbers that outnumber, say, other people who shoot up places for other reasons. Where would they even get this stuff? I mean, honestly. And what happened on January 6th? It was a day of love. It was a beautiful day. I don't even know why they had magnetometers.
...justify the funding that it receives from Congress. And it's no mystery why in the last 10 years since IPM has been brought in, the number of domestic terrorism cases has quadrupled.
Or they have...
in the FBI. And the scariest part of all is senior executives receive financial compensation and bonuses for meeting these metrics.
That's...
Well, yeah, conviction metrics.
That's terrifying.
Oh, it's terrifying. Oh, my God. I'm going to get pulled over for being a white supremacist. And I don't have any defense. Can you get insurance?
And obviously corrupted to think...
Or he's bullshitting.
It's going that way. We talked a lot on this show about how we have a government right now, especially the White House administration, that talks constantly about domestic extremism.
No, that's not what you said. You were specifically pointing out racism as the root of everything. It wasn't domestic extremism. Honestly, I don't think you're worried that the Biden administration is concerned about motocross.
I assume they were doing this because it's a way to elicit more power for the government, to gain more control over the people. Do you think that's part of it, or is it because of these trumped up numbers that they're getting that the government is reacting to?
No, I think that it's not an if or, it's an and also situation. This gives the president, the attorney general, the FBI director the talking point they need. They can say the FBI is the aggregator of all criminal statistics for this country. It's respected. Its image is still untarnished for large swaths of the country.
Yeah, I know, and I understand you're here to tarnish it, and that's part of the problem with your, I mean, they're not going to bat 1,000 all the time. I mean, they're obviously going to. It's possible that as hard as they might try, they might hire some assholes. Does HAL need to do a fundraiser for a portable studio? I never want to assume someone needs funds. I think it's gauche how many multimillionaires and billionaires have their hands out for money. HAL needs help. We should. I love the idea. I try. We're building it. Like I said, I'm building this race car as it's already on the track.
And they can say that the FBI can back these stats up and say that 2 of the 4 primary issues for domestic terrorism are anti-government extremism and ethnic extremism, which so happen to be the 2 qualities that Joe Biden labeled MAGA Republicans on Independence Hall last September.
Yeah,
right, but not solely. And I think it sounds like this is an emotional issue for this guy. That he felt attacked, and it panicked him, just like it panics Rob.
You're going to be called a traitor. I'm sure you already have been. You've been called unpatriotic for what you're doing. In my opinion, the founders of this country were mortified of
reporters holding their phones while they're hosting their show, like What is that? What do you? He's. Oh, I'll show you. Hold on. I don't know that you guys can see it. He's. That's his phone. I don't know what's happening. He just didn't bother to put it down. What is he, the David Spade of Newsmax?
A result like we're seeing now of what's happening with the government, of the power, of the extent that it's grown to. I would say there's
again. What's the extent? Is the government's just finally where they're putting their foot down? We're not going to let thousands of people shit in the rotunda of the Capitol again. That's it.
Nothing more patriotic than trying to help this country stay free and to break.
Or you can also say that someone could use the freedoms we hold dear and we care about as an open channel for destruction. You turn a country's strengths into a weakness. There's also a version of reality where that occurs, wouldn't you say? The CCP does it all the time. Russia does it all the time.
Free from too much government.
From too much government. How much? What's the amount?
Well, I'll put my patriotism bona fides up against just about anybody. I worked on Indian reservations for 7 years and arrested 150 violent criminals. I took a
What a weird note. I'll put my patriotism up against anybody. I worked on Indian reservations for several years, and I arrested hundreds of violent criminals. What an odd... Huh? I mean, that sounds like it's part of the job. But why would that be your thing, like, boom, I'm a patriot. I locked up these people who live among us and have their own sovereign land that caused trouble for us. What? I honestly, like, I'm shocked he's not going. I volunteered to go into Mexico and shoot people. Like, what?
in order to work child pornography investigations before being voluntold to work on January 6 cases.
Voluntold. Hey, motherfucker, you don't get to pick your job. They had so much video and so much evidence to look over in that particular situation. And believe me, there might have been other reasons why they moved you off, the child pornographers. And I'll tell you why. If you have a particular political bone to pick and you're loud about it, you might not look hard at, no pun intended, the people that you need to look at. If somebody is a hardcore Trumpy, there is reason to believe that in certain cases, they might drag their feet going after some people because they live under the perception that that person must be innocent because they share the same political values as them, or allegedly do, or work for the same person, or told people that they had those same values, whether they did or not, that you might drag your feet going after somebody like this. Trump campaign advisor pleads guilty to child porn, sex trafficking. An informal advisor to Donald Trump's 2016 campaign who testified in the Mueller probe pleaded guilty Monday to charges of child sex trafficking and possessing child pornography. Pleaded guilty. This is one of the pro-Trump witnesses. Not some rando Ohio, campaign dude. Do you think, maybe, just maybe, an informal advisor to Donald Trump's 2016 campaign who testified in the Mueller probe pleaded guilty Monday to charges of child sex trafficking and possessing child pornography? George Nader, 60, entered his plea before U.S. District Judge Leonie Brinkema? Yeah, sure. In Virginia's Eastern District. The stocky, bespectacled former Washington insider was succinct as judge said he pled guilty in a gravelly voice, rapidly nodding his head in a huddle with the defense attorneys. Those expected Lebanese-American businessman would go to trial in March. A criminal information filed on Friday signaled the decision to change course. He told the court on Monday that he felt no pressure to enter pleas and that he had not struck any deals with prosecutors or any before deciding to confess. He was first charged in June 2019. I forget who was president in June 2019. Do you guys remember? I can't remember. With transporting and possessing pornographic images of children, including some featuring toddler-aged boys, baby goats, and other farm animals. A month later in July, prosecutors added a sex trafficking charge, saying Nader had arranged the transport to his Washington home of a 14-year-old boy from the Czech Republic in February of 2000. Nader allegedly held on to the child's passport after flying him through Dulles International Airport. Once at his residence, he assaulted him nightly, kept the child silent by threatening him and his mother with imprisonment should they ever attempt to report him. This is before he started working for the Trump campaign. Defense attorneys sought to have the July charge dismissed under the statute of limitations, but Judge Brinkman relied on a 2006 Adam Walsh Child Protection Act, which eliminated time limits on prosecution of certain offenses involving minors and intent to engage in criminal sexual activity with minors. This is not Nader's first run in the law. He served 6 months in 91 after guilty plea in Virginia to transporting child pornography. And this guy was and I guess that's what made him an informal advisor. If he hadn't pled guilty and he'd just been tried and found guilty, he probably would have been a formal advisor to Trump, right? In 2003, Nader was convicted in the Prague Municipal Court in Czech Republic for sexually abusing boys, facing 10 charges there. This motherfucker, what? Why? Who brought him as a Mueller witness for that? He served a year in jail in Prague before being expelled for the country, facing 10 charges there. The light sentences are believed to be in part the result of Nader's 30-plus year connection to prominent movers and shakers in Washington. Movers and shakers. Court documents note that the now deceased real estate developer Guilford Glazer, a friend of former President Ronald Reagan, extolled Nadler's character in a letter to a federal judge, naming Nadler a critical conduit in the brokerage of conflict relief efforts between Israel and Hezbollah. Nader was a longtime editor of the Middle East Insight magazine throughout the 80s and 90s. Pled guilty to transporting... Fuck this dude. Jesus. Because of his reputation for fairness and remarkable access to key political business leaders through the region, Nader was produced a magazine of distinction and high quality. The Trump campaign knew of Nader's negotiating prowess within the Middle East and the diplomatic circles, and knew he was especially plugged into the United Arab Emirates channel thanks to his direct ties to UAE's Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. According to testimony Nader gave to the grand jury during special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia interference in the 2016 U.S. election, Nader arranged his first meeting with members of the Trump transition team in December of 2016 at Trump Tower in Manhattan. At the meeting, Nader met with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, then Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, and the Emirati Crown Prince. The point of the meeting, according to an extensive report first published by the Associated Press, was to convince Trump administration to sour on Qatar, a nation that has long been an ally to the U.S. but an enemy to the Emiratis. The hardened stance towards Qatar was a running theme championed by Trump fundraiser Elliot Broidy. That's the guy who paid for Trump's abortion, allegedly. Broidy, also the former finance chairman of the Republican National Committee, received a wire from Nader in April of 2017. I forget who was president in April of 2017. For a whopping $2.5 million from Nader's company in the UAE. The funds were first routed to a Canadian investment firm known as Shemin Investments Limited. Fucking hell. No wonder they talk about they do nothing but show Hunter Biden smoking in a fucking bathtub. Good fucking Lord. How did this one dude not bring down the entire Trump world? Oh, man, the tap dance. Another of Nader's meeting that caught special counsel eyes was Nader's January 2017 gathering in the paradisiacal Seychelles in the Indian Ocean. There, Nader was joined again by bin Zayed, but this time in attendance was Eric Prince, founder of security company Blackwater, Russian President Vladimir Putin's ally Kirill Dmitriev, head of Russia's $10 billion sovereign wealth fund, the Russian Direct Investment Fund. Though Prince told Mueller the meeting in the Seychelles was happenstance, Nader testified the meeting was planned and that the subject discussed was how to create a diplomatic back channel between the Trump team and Moscow. First pulled into Mueller's orbit a year later in January 2018. Nader was stopped by FBI agents at Dulles. They wanted to know more about meetings he arranged between the Trump transition teams and officials from the Kremlin. The search warrant for his phone ultimately uncovered the child pornography. Nader faces sentencing April 10th on the new conviction. And the problem is that there were Trump friendlies all along the way that were apparently willing to look the other way or were against prioritizing people that they viewed to be loyal to the president. Whew. I'm grossed out.
And my concerns were that the FBI was not acting necessarily any sort of political way. I was initially worried that...
By the way, just for the record, that the fact that the Mueller probe didn't cost the taxpayers any money. Money seized through Manafort and others that was ill-gotten gains, paid for the Mueller report plus. So the Mueller report was free. And if the result of the Mueller, look back at like Whitewater and what it resulted in, if the result of the Mueller report was just that motherfucker is going to jail forever, that's a win in and of itself. It is because of the Mueller investigation that they targeted that dude. When they looked on his phone, they found the child porn because he'd been cagey with them. Good Lord. All right. Anyways, I'm over him as well. I don't feel like this is all opinion that he's throwing around. And so now it's my turn to frighten the shit out of you. Arg! Ladies and gentlemen, Harriet Hagman dropping in on American Agenda, which is, I guess, according to Newsmax, not gay, because, agendas have, kind of a bad rap around there, On Friday's American Agenda, Rep. Harriet Hagman slams Democrats for interrupting testimony from FBI whistleblowers. They stopped them to say their piece.
Turning now to the House Select Subcommittee investigating the weaponization of the federal government. They held a hearing yesterday to discuss Special Counsel John Durham's report on alleged FBI wrongdoing. The panel...
Wrongdoing. It was fucking around with a ladder again.
Chaired by Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, examining whistleblowers alleged...
Wait, they examined them as well? Are they all sure whether they're boys or girls? Have they checked? Did they turn them upside down?
Abuses at the agency and how the FBI may have retaliated against those whistleblowers.
Or those whistleblowers aren't really whistleblowers. They're political dissidents who tried to weasel their way into the FBI to benefit Donald Trump. And when it didn't work, they got mad and they ran to the side that will help them. That's also, sure, what I'm saying is the Occam's razor version of events, based on their own actual words. But what do I know?
Joining us now to break down yesterday's hearing, Wyoming Congresswoman and member of the House Judiciary Committee.
And George Santos, drag cosplay performer. It's uncanny. It's uncanny.
Representative Harriet Hagman, welcome to American Agenda. Representative, there were some fiery exchanges yesterday, one in particular between Jim Jordan and Delegate Stacey Plackett. Take a look.
Delegate? Delegate? She's a representative. She's the...
Take a look.
Take a look.
You don't share your information with the minority? Nope. The whistle. No,
so you're not sharing information that you've obtained with the
whistleblower saw what you did with Mr. Friend and others, the false information you gave the press, so much so that they had to issue corrections.
The whistleblower doesn't decide that. The committee decides it.
And we've decided.
And you've decided that you're not going to share.
Mr. Allen is here. You can ask him questions, and we can talk about the testimony. But right now, you're not getting the testimony. Mr. Allen's here to testify.
And you'll give us the testimony when? After he's left, or at no point in time, or when will we have that? That's only for the Republicans. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady did not state a point of order.
The point of order was, will he be giving us the testimony of the...
Yeah, I'm on her side in this. I don't know about you guys. What are they afraid of is the question.
That is here before us, and that you have information of
Chairman, I asked
that you are not sharing with the Democrats.
I move.
A fiery exchange there. What's your reaction to everything that went on there? There were some serious allegations leveled against the FBI.
No, I mean, that's what it says on your laptop, but that's not the case. By the way, is that Hunter Biden's laptop? I've been looking for it. I've never seen a picture of it. It could be. What do I know?
Well, what you find when the Democrats start behaving that way is that they're attempting to deflect attention from what the witnesses have to say.
It sounds like they wanted to actually read what the witnesses had already said, dum-dum.
So we've held several select meetings of the Select Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. And if you go back and watch the videos, that is pretty much the playbook by which they operate.
Or it could be that they're responding to a consistent pattern by the Republicans of not giving them either witness information or alleged evidence or referential documents and those kind of things so that they can be caught on the back foot so that the Republicans can gish-gallop their way through these stupid things and pretend that things are being said that aren't.
And that is...
By the way, did you ever hear a complaint from any Republican anywhere on any of the committees that the Democrats weren't providing them with information that they had previous to the, that they weren't entering into the record or reading from directly for the first time for everybody else there?
That they try to disrupt. They lob motions to adjourn. They ignore the testimony of the witnesses and they attack them personally. An example.
And by the way, I got to say, very little of someone describing their feelings or concerns is testimony. You can't, I mean, that's a whole lot of take my word for it at this level of testifying someplace. I mean, it might be all right on the people's court, but holy shit.
When Matt Taibbi, the two journalists came in to testify.
Well, journalists.
Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi.
No, Barry Weiss, you already said. Never mind.
Ms. Plaskett, in her opening statement, referred to them as alleged journalists.
Right. Yeah. As opposed to the stenographers for billionaires that they clearly were acting as.
And
then, by the way, Matt Taibbi later on would be pitched off of Twitter by Elon Musk and realized that in that moment, he was precisely that. He was, oh shit, I've been an alleged journalist this whole time.
Referred to these folks with a similar a name calling. And that's what they do because they don't ever...
What'd they call him? But similar name calling. I mean, an alleged journalist, a fairly easy phrase. What'd they call him? What'd they accuse them of? What name did they give him? Harriet?
I want to talk about the substance of what the witnesses have to say.
No, they wanted to read the actual under oath testimony that they'd given, which was where most of the substance was. This was just performative. They would like to see the stuff where they talked at length about their allegations that in detail, as opposed to their, I was not allowed to get my stuff out of storage, which is not germane to the weaponization of the government against the populace.
So they either attack them personally, they attack their history, they attack their families.
Well, I mean, attacking their history, if you're impugning a witness based on who they are, that's going to be part and parcel to it. Nobody can... I call into question anything that I have a feeling these people are going to commit crimes in the future. Yeah.
They make allegations that are false.
Like what?
They leak testimony, but then they change it in some way.
Well, then they didn't leak it. They released forgeries. Call it that.
In fact, that's what Jim Jordan was referring to. The press has repeatedly had to make corrections when they take statements from the
Man, after running through those corrections with you guys, this is really embarrassing to watch. We've seen this a few times, where people will either exaggerate what a story says or just go on the headline and that kind of stuff. But this is really bad.
Democrat members of this committee, because they mislead the press as to what is being said and what the witnesses are saying. So,
yeah, they were just asking for the testimony of what they actually said. I'm just saying there's a mismatch.
It's kind of par for the course, but it is in order to...
Oh, Stacey Plaskett is a delegate because the Virgin Islands is a territory and not a state. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Angela. Thank you so much for the super chat. My bad.
To deflect attention from what the witnesses had to say. And
Oh, and by the way, the reason I was hunting for it is that she's the ranking member or whatever for the minority or whatever. That's the phrase that I thought they should use.
that's what's really important here.
Fair enough, and it's something we've been covering over the past couple days. While the time we have remaining with you, I did want to ask you.
Yeah, they don't give her a lot of time, and I think that's wise.
Senator Feinstein, there are a lot.
Okay, I don't care. Hi, chat room. You guys are wonderful, but her fashion is on fleek. Yeah, you can't leak a lie. Remember that. Yes, it's your GOP. State of the Virgin Islands, D.C. and PR now. Not D.C., but absolutely Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. It's debatable whether they even want it. But having a referendum's not a bad idea. But, weigh that how you will. All right, where's the thing? I want to look at some. Yeah, so this is one of the things I wanted to look at because the Durham report, and I'm still reading through all of it, and it's long, and I've been traveling and that kind of stuff, but it's a whole lot of nothing. It's a lot of narrative. It's a lot of storytelling, which is great for these guys and great for Republicans because it's, it's written in places to be dramatic, but it doesn't present any new evidence that's going to turn anything, which is why he does not recommend prosecution of anyone. There are no recommendations for indictments in it. And the reason is because there is no there. And that's really the biggest drag on the remember I told you the story would deflate rather quickly? Yeah. It's why they're all over these FBI alleged whistleblowers, because they're whistleblowers about the Biden family stuff have vanished because they never existed anyways, and they don't have the paperwork they say they did, and it's all bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But these guys can come out and go, I was mishandled. As an employee, I felt slighted. They could, whatever. Anyways, but and the reason is because it's the best thing they have to move on from the Durham report, which just left them hanging. So this is Trish Regan on Durham's failure to indict a single perpetrator identified as part of the corruption. It's so sad. It's almost like either he's the worst person to put in charge of it, and he was a mistake the whole time, and he was never going to be able to do it, and Trump's a terrible judge of character and can't pick a professional to save his life, or they've always been full of shit, and he just realized it and had to write a report anyways, and that's the best he could do.
Guys, I'm happy to welcome back to the podcast our friend Trish Regan, host of the Trish Regan Show. By the
Where do they get these show names?
The website, trishreganshow.com. She's also the editor of a multimedia.
And she's smiling. She's very smiling. Guys, it's smiling. And the Iraq
publishing company, trishintel.com.
Okay. Look, at least with MEGAWORLDWIDE, I'm joking. It's tongue-in-cheek. Trishintel.com.
Trish, welcome. Great to have you on the show. And wow, let me start with this business about the Durham report. I saw that Lindsey Graham was asked, what does he think should now happen? And he goes, well, I wish that someone at the FBI would call and apologize. So evidently, he thinks that an apology will set matters straight. I mean, isn't it a fact that what...
I'm so... I can't even... It is too much. It's just the pressure of... I hope at some point, I guess someone it just backs up on me,
What Durham has confirmed, I won't say uncovered, because
yeah, because he hasn't.
A lot of people already knew this. But an elaborate triangular scheme involving the Clinton campaign on the one hand, the intelligence agencies on the other, and the media, the third partner in this operation, all putting out a complete disinformation operation.
No, not the case at all.
Clearly with the intent of influencing an election.
No, if that was the case, then the Clinton campaign would have released the dossier as soon as they got it. They would have thrown that bombshell out in the open. And you know what funny is, if they had, there's a chance that the Access Hollywood tape would have never come out, or it would have come out sooner, which is the gamble they had, or that more people would have come forward because, oh my God, this guy's so horrifying. But they decided they could win on the merits, and they made a mistake because faux-gressives held their nose and stayed home.
This was absolutely unbelievable. And
it's absolutely unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, yes, it is unbelievable. The Durham report is unbelievable. They keep saying this. It's the new outrage.
Just like go back. I have lots of concerns about what they might be doing in 22, or did in 2020. Lots of concerns about what they might be doing now. But let's go back to what was going down there in 2016. I mean, you said it. I mean, this was an opposition research campaign.
Right. It was always that. And it was started by Republicans. The McCain Institute gave the dossier to the FBI before Steele did.
This was coming from a major law firm out of D.C. that was representing Hillary Clinton. And then they went out and got Fusion GPS, which was an Oppo research firm.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, guys. Syntax doesn't matter. The order of when these organizations worked on this or what they did, it doesn't matter that Fusion GPS happened before and that they were hired initially, just like Christopher Steele, by Republicans. I know, details.
Which then went and hired this ex-British spy who had a lot of contacts in Russia. He, in turn, Christopher Steele, hired a guy who, by the way, the United States government was concerned that the guy who fed all this information was a Russian spy himself.
This is a great time to bring up George Nader again. This should be our kind of go-to to remind everybody whenever they talk about like what they thought was like the FBI was talking to people, the Clinton had become a top. This guy had a meeting at Trump Tower, was ultimately charged with kidnapping and sex trafficking a 10-year-old boy from the Czech Republic. And his proclivities were well known. And just like Trump palling around with Epstein, maybe Trump didn't give a shit because his boys were too old for this guy at the time. But this guy checks all those boxes and then some. Ugh.
Oh, Igor Dachenko, if I got that name right. So, in other words, this was multi-layered. And what amazed me the most, Dinesh, and I'll just say this as a journalist,
alleged journalist.
I'm very reluctant to go with something until I have multiple sources. And I always check those sources. And the other thing I do, Dinesh, is I think
that's what I do, Dinesh. Okay.
long and hard about the political bias or the financial bias, right? I cover the economy that a particular source may have. Are they shorting that stock? Is that the reason why they want to put out bad information? Or are they politically motivated because maybe if you trace this thing back, it goes back to a political source, as this one did in the case of Hillary Clinton? And so it shocked me from the very beginning.
No, it actually goes back to McCain not wanting Trump to be the party's choice to run for president before Hillary was even a factor.
Is how on earth our FBI would actually sign off on the wiretapping agreements to spy on American citizens and spy on the Trump campaign without having done the very basic due diligence that one would ask of oneself as a journalist, as a reporter. And then they were spoon-fed, the media was spoon-fed all this nonsense.
No, again, not nonsense. Again, what's nonsense is this is what would be the Barr summary report. No collusion, never mind, nothing to see here, and then that keeps you from looking at the depth of the, and if follow Mueller, she wrote, and go back and look at her breakdown of this. And again, you've got this George Nader dude working as an informal advisor, being their point person with the UAE because they're trying to stiff arm Qatar, which is an American ally, and they bring this dude in. And in the process of going after him in the Mueller report because he's meeting with Russians in, where was it? He was working with Elliot Broidy. Broidy got a $2.5 million wire from Nader's company in the UAE. He was meeting with Kirill Dmitriev, head of Russia's $10 billion sovereign wealth fund, which God knows how much of that money ended up going through Deutsche Bank into Trump's coffers. According to the Mueller report, Nader and Dmitriev spoke at length about how Dmitriev was underwhelmed by the prince at the Seychelles meeting and wanted to meet with someone better connected. First pulled into Mueller's orbit in 2018, Nader was stopped by FBI agents, and that's where they uncovered that he had child pornography. And he's a disgusting monster, horrible, horrible human being, and worked with Jared Kushner and Donald Trump on the regular. After, by the way, previous convictions for this stuff.
You had all these
and by the way, always Republicans running interference for him.
Spy hacks like John Brennan out there insisting it was true. It was all false.
No, it wasn't. And no journalist would say it's all false, almost about anything this big.
And so I think that just has to have us take a step back like that.
Yeah, we got to step back and then step forward and then step back and step forward. Now we're cha-chaing.
That's what we need to do right now. Some heads ought to roll at the FBI. Anybody that has these political biases.
Yeah, they did. They got rid of those assholes. They got to testify, but they lost their jobs. Oh, you don't mean them?
It is not called for. It is unacceptable. They should not have that kind of position in government.
No, Trish, as we dig through the Durham report, it's very obvious. Like, for example, Danchenko, the guy that you referenced, made all these wild allegations about a P-tape and so on. And supposedly he got it from another guy named Sergei Millian. We see in the Durham report, he didn't know Sergei Millian. He never talked to the guy. He basically made this up. And then you're saying a normal checking process would be, well, who'd you get it from?
Yeah. And by the way, the FBI didn't give a fuck about the PP tape stuff. The elements of the Mueller of the dossier that dealt with like salacious and disgusting behavior by Trump, the FBI didn't give a fuck about that stuff. They only went and looked at stuff that they had already had intel about elsewhere, that this seemed to be another, at least whisper campaign around these certain topics, financial topics, that would add more fuel to a fire that was already burning. The FBI did not ask for fucking Trump's urine.
You call that guy, right? The FBI didn't do any of this.
Yeah, because they weren't going. Why would? That's where all the salacious stuff went for. And again, none of it's a crime. The FBI is not. This might shock people, but it is not in the FBI's jurisdiction to concern themselves when sheets are micturated upon, in the words of the Big Lebowski, in a foreign country. Of course they didn't look into it. Of course they didn't ask questions. They didn't give a shit. Why should they?
Do you think they didn't do any of this because they simply...
No, they didn't do any of this because that's not a crime. It's just gross.
Lost their competence and were suckered? Or do you think, I think more likely, the FBI totally knew what was going on. They totally knew that this was a framing of...
They totally knew that this wasn't legally their responsibility.
And they were like, we're not going to check because frankly, if we check, we might discover that we can't go forward.
Again, how and why would the FBI verify the PP tape idea? Other than if he's being the idea that Trump is being blackmailed by it. That would be the only area. And there are only a couple of ways that they could do that. One is a direct question. Ask somebody in his orbit, hey, is, when somebody gets kidnapped or whatever, and the kidnapper says, don't talk to the authorities, don't talk to the FBI, and the FBI has to contact the person on the down low in case the kidnappers or the blackmailers are aware of the contact and kills the person or does something damaging. Like that happens on occasion. But if there's no complaint, the only area where, I guess technically speaking, even in that wouldn't be the FBI's purview until it is verified as a crime within the country, meaning that they have some evidence that he's being blackmailed over this, or they have some point of control, and they wouldn't be even able to get the evidence of it would be the quid pro quo. He did something particularly weird, like, I don't know, defend Russia at every turn, that would make you go, hey, maybe there is a PP tape. And by then, it was already years in.
Well, wouldn't it have occurred to someone at the FBI to maybe have called the hotel and gotten the hotel records? And then maybe they would have found out that, guess what? Donald Trump didn't even stay there. I mean, there were...
that's... why would the FBI believe any information on on that level that would come out of Russia? Do you think, is the guy at the hotel where this happened, if they are blackmailing him, going to tell you the truth? You can't subpoena him. If you do, you'll never get him. And if he comes and testifies, it could very well be that he gets pushed out of a third floor window.
All these things that they could have, should have done. And I was like, gosh, I read the thing, right? Because it got published on BuzzFeed, and I personally wouldn't have chosen to publish it. I believe everybody should be able to read whatever, but
I would have run interference for Trump because I love him.
I thought it was irresponsible of them to do so, only because it was so obviously opposition research. And then people were...
Yeah, that's what it was. Everybody knew that's what it was. That's what it was for initially. Running
around treating it like gospel over on MSNBC. The conspiracy just kept getting more wild and more wild. But yes, Dinesh, these are...
No. You can't get wilder than PP tapes. You just can't. I'm sorry. It quite frankly pegged the meter. And by the way, the fact that, what got wilder and wilder at the time wasn't the dossier stuff. It was the Access Hollywood tape.
Should have done. So why didn't they? We have to ask ourselves, and we have to ask them that. That's why we should have everybody up. I want to see them all on Capitol Hill, and I want to see them answer these questions. Why didn't you ask the logical stuff that they teach you in any basic journalism class at a community college? Like, why isn't the FBI doing that?
Why aren't you doing it? Dinesh clearly isn't. Here's a good question. Ask Dinesh why, in the reenactment moments where they used an actor pretending to be someone ballot stuffing in 2000 Mules, that they did not put on the screen reenactment or lead off the movie by saying this movie contains scenes that are, some actual footage and some reenactments. Why just put the guy in the credits at the end as an actor but not say it during the course of the film? Especially over the footage. Because people are going to believe that the guy sneaking in at night, stuffing things into the ballot box in the middle of the night, shot from a sketchy car camera, they thought that was real. Trump thinks it's real.
And I suspect, it's one of two reasons: total incompetence, which should have us quite fearful.
I don't know. I think it's a great podcast title for you and Dinesh.
Or it was politically motivated. It may have been, in fact, and I'm being generous here, it may have been a combination of both. Yes, they're incompetent, but boy, oh boy, did they want to get him. They wanted to get him bad, and so they...
Why? Just because they don't like his face? Just because they don't like MAGA? Or the whole grab him by the pussy thing and constantly defending Russia and sucking up to our opponents and stiff-arming our allies and all the legit intel that they've seen because they couldn't act on because it fell into their lap because of warrants that they had against awful people all over the world that magically he was making contact with, that's the stuff they can use. You want to get Trump in more trouble? Bring those people that she's talking about in and make them testify under oath and give them, freedom to speak openly about classified matters on, of Trump's relationship with Russia.
Are willing to overlook things, right? They had their answer for that equation already. They had the answer, and now they just needed to plug in the dots and plug in whatever algorithm was going to get them there. And
algorithm, that's adorable.
Didn't want to listen to anything that might negate that.
When we come back, more with Trish Regan.
No, I'm sorry. We're done with Trish Regan because she didn't say anything. You didn't say anything. She didn't say anything, but I said a lot because I'm Hal Sparks, and this is Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Hey, look how it blinked in right when I said that. It's almost like a magic trick. Hold on. I'm so not used to the show being on this late or whatever. I think the guys are going to arrive soon, so I got to take off. I'll see you guys on the radio show tomorrow. And I will work on making my green screen a little bit better. I'll see if I can bring some more lights in or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And if it just sucks, I'll just not do a green screen, and you guys will enjoy the tan curtain again, because it's lovely. Isn't it lovely? Isn't she lovely? All right. Anyways, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for putting up with my limited tech things while I'm on the road. I should show you guys a picture of my setup. It's pretty pitiful. Yeah. This is a mess. This is crazy talk. Like my normal desk at home is a mess when I do the show anyways, because I have little props and stuff sitting around all the time. But this is the way I have to shuffle a hotel room around to be able to use it. It's a lot. Does the carpet match the drapes? It does. It all matches, sadly. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you guys later. Where's my proper button? My buttons are all different here. See you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And Philip will be joining us tomorrow for the radio show. He couldn't make it on Wednesday. And thanks, CSL. Hopefully I get to see you soon, the next little bit. By the way, next Tuesday, Ultimate Jam Night, the Bus Boys are joining us. I'm super excited because, as many of you know, 48 Hours is one of my favorite movies. Eddie Murphy, comedian, you'll recall that, which is the album. Delirious was the video version of it. He went on tour, and the Bus Boys opened for him. 'Cause the boys are back in town. Yeah. A couple of them are going to be with us. Carmen Apiece is playing. Pretty cool. And I'm going to be it's a big Van Halen weekend. It just is. I'm playing a bunch of stuff. And I'm doing some Ozzy. That's fun. And what else? I don't want to spoil the surprise. It's going to be amazing. Anyways, get Eddie. Yeah. Well, Eddie Murphy, I would love to have him come down and do... Eddie, you could come. I'm just saying, you could come down and do Party All the Time. We could totally make that happen. I'm just saying, we could throw that. Is it too much to ask? I don't think so.
Pornos, motorhead, geeks, sluts. assuming you're believing in atmospheric filth.
This is 100% factual.
Deeper and longer.
I call it a smoker.
Deeper and longer. I like wood.
Here I am like an idiot. Wow.
And we developed some very good friendship. I had a beat off.
Deeper and longer. I like wood.
Wow.
I don't know. That's the kind of thinking you've got. That's the kind of thinking you're supposed to be voting for, I guess.
Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
Wildlife. We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
Maybe because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
Hail to the king, baby.
I'm dead sexy.
Groovy.
Nice. Not thrilling,